Hi guys, welcome to your Java learning session right here, and welcome to the YouTube channel Absolute Beginners Coding. So in this video, we'll be learning Java. This is Ash. Let's start Java. Yeah, and we add. So if you're a person who just wanted to learn Java basic, which means a core Java, and if you want to learn in a very basic manner, which means you don't have any idea about Java with your prior knowledge or prior experience, but you wanted to learn Java for many reasons, wanted to get a job in Java and so on, but you have no idea about Java. So this is the right place and this is the right video for that. So in this video, I'll be teaching basic Java, which is nothing but core Java, and I'll be covering the topics which are under the Java, and I'm gonna use my Notepad for that, so it'll be like a Notepad teaching. So this video want to make sure that every person who doesn't have any prior knowledge about Java should learn Java. So that's the main motive of this video, and I didn't use any softwares like Eclipse or NetBeans to get the programs right now, because this is for the people who doesn't know what a Java is, and I just want to make sure they know the basic concepts of Java. So this is a basic Java right here, and if you subscribe to this channel, on my later on videos I'll be teaching you with the use of these softwares, and we can get the output by using these softwares, but this will be like a basic Notepad teaching, and this is for the people who wanted to learn Java basic, which is nothing but core Java, and I'll be covering all the topics under Java. Okay, let's start learning Java, guys. But before that, if absolute beginner coding, make sure subscribe if you like really the video. If you want to share with Java, and there is also a playlist which will be playing the videos, so like the playlist as well. Okay, so let's start learning Java basic. Java. Okay, so this is it, guys. We're gonna learn basic Java, which is nothing but a core Java, and it will be a bad better. Okay, so let's begin with a sample on explanation of the same. So let's do this. Okay, what is a Java? What do you know about Java? So Java is a programming language, and it is one of the very popular programming language. So there are many programming languages out there, like C, C++, Java, Python, C Sharp, .NET, Golang, Kotlin, and much more actually, PHP and so on. But Java is one of the very few languages which has been used by most of the developers around the globe. It has been in existence since 1995, and Java is a very in-depth programming language. It's a very detailed programming language. It is a very secured programming language, and it's one of the only old and popular programming language that still has a very good team of people who uses it till now. So Java is a quite good programming language. If you wanted to learn it, it will give you a good job actually. If you wanted to have a very long career, you can learn Java, and this is one of the very popular programming language. So if you're learning Java, you'll be having a very good job, that's for sure. But what are you going to do with this Java? In what way it is going to be helpful for you? So Java is basically used to create mobile applications, like the simple apps that you see on your mobile. It might have used Java for developing such. At the same time, you're like playing a game in your mobile, it might have like used Java for the development of the game. Java is also used to create websites on the computer part, and it is also used to create desktop applications, which is nothing but the softwares and applications which has been installed in your desktop. And it is also used to create the computer games which you are playing, and it has a very wide variety of uses. So basically it is used to create applications, games, websites, and many programming tasks. So this is the use of Java here. So let's dive into the same. Let's a simple programming language. Let's see a very simple example of Java. Okay, here's a very simple example of a Java programming language here. Okay, so every Java programming language should have a class, and this class might be public or private. So you might know by the name public, anyone can access it. If it is a private, it is a restricted thing. So the name of this class is main. So before like any class name, you have to mention the class, which actually defines that it is a class, and you also should mention whether it is a private class or a public class. So we have created a class which is name as main, and it is a public class. So we have basically created a public class which is main, and every program should start with parentheses and end with, like start with calibrates or parentheses, whatever you call it, and end with parentheses as well. So in this next line, we are calling this class main here. This is a public static void main function, and it is using string arguments. So again, it is a public thing and anyone can use it, and it's a static thing which is a standard one, and it is a void, which means this line will not be executed. That's the reason we have given void, and we are calling the main class which we have created here, and we are creating an argument which is a string. So again, before any command for execution, you have to create another parenthesis, and only between the parenthesis an argument should be given. A command for output should be given, in other words, and any command for an output should end with semicolon in Java. So what you're doing here is we are asking the system to give an output which should print in the next line whatever given inside this bracket and within the double quotation. You have to note that whatever you're giving inside the double quotation, it will be printed as it is. So you will be like using single quotation later on, but make sure that if you are giving anything in between the double quotation, it will be printed as it is. So we are creating a public class main, and we are calling the public class main with a string arguments, and we are asking the system to print in the next line, which is hello world. So obviously the output here will be so this will be the output, which is hello world. And what happens if you did not give the ln here? The output will be printed here because it will not consider giving a line space. So that's the reason we are giving ln over here. Okay, that's the reason over here. So we have started with a very basic simple example. Let's dive into the learning part. So let's recall the thing what we have learned, and let's have some quick creation and invention of this programming language. So what is Java? As I said before, Java is a popular programming language. It has been created in the year 1995. So right now it has been owned by Oracle, and more than 3 billion devices run Java. So you might know that Java has been created by Sun Microsystems, and which has been bought by Oracle right now. And the name of the Java has come to an conclusion before it has been named as org and something else, and later on they have got a copyright on the name Java and they have named it Java. It has like few other names before it has been named as Java. Finally, for 25 years it has been Java for now, and the present owner of Java is Oracle, and it has been bought by Oracle from Sun Microsystems. Okay, so 3 billion devices run Java. In Indian numerals, 300 crores of devices run Java, whereas a billion is equal to 100 crores. So basically, 1/3 of the population who uses mobile phone has their applications built by Java programming language. So now you know how popular this programming language is. So what are the uses of the programming language Java? As I said before, mobile applications, especially Android applications. Now Google has developed Kotlin application for using Android apps. I mean like Kotlin programming language for using, I mean Java is a programming language which has been used to create mobile application, especially Android application. Google is the owner of Android applications, right? They have created their very own programming language, which is Kotlin, which is very easy to create Android applications over Java, but still you can use Java to create Android application. And it is also used to create desktop applications, web servers, applications and servers. games, database connection, and much more. So we have seen it earlier. So this is a quick recap of the same. So let's move on. Why use Java? Java works on different platforms like Windows, Mac, Linux, Raspberry Pi, etc. If you're creating an application by using Java, you can either run it on Windows, the same application will be run on Mac, the same application will be running on Linux, the same application will be running on Raspberry Pi as well. So if you create an application by using Java, basically you need not to like worry about running it in a different programming or different platforms, because if you're creating an application by using Java, it can be run on Windows, it can be run on Mac, it can be run on Linux, it can be run on Raspberry Pi, and so on. So is it just like cross-platform workable? You don't have to worry about recreating the application for each and every platform. That is not the thing. You have to create it once and it will be run on each and every platform. Then another thing is, as I said before, it is one of the very most popular programming language in the world, and it is very simple and easy to use. More than anything, it is open source, which is free. So Oracle allows us to use this programming language for free. We know not to pay. We are using the basic Java. It is secure, fast, and powerful. So it is like really secureable, guys. It is like very difficult to crack the codes. It's really fast. It's one of the powerful programming language, which means even after 25 years we are using Java, right? It is really powerful. It has a huge community support, like tens of millions of developers, which means like more than 10 million of people are using Java as their primary programming languages. Basically, like in Indian numerals, like more than 1 crore of people who are developers are using Java to write a code. And the next thing is, Java is an object-oriented language. What is an object-oriented language? We will be learning this in a further session, and which gives clear structure to programs and allows code to be reused. You need not to write the same code again and again in your program. You can write it once and you can call it wherever you want. It actually lowers the developers' costs. So as Java is like really close to C++ and C#, it makes it easy for programmers to switch to Java or vice versa. If you're familiar with Java, you can actually learn C++ and C# like really easy for you if you're trying to learn those things, and if you want to switch to another programming language, because C++, C# is like very similar to Java. If you'll know Java, you can easily catch up with the C++ and C#. That's what they are trying to say here. So this is the reason why to use Java. So let's move on. So what is a Java syntax, guys? What are the format that a Java program should be written? So we're gonna learn about the syntax of a Java program. So let's see here. So here a public class has been given and a public static void main string arguments has been given, and a program which executes the output is called. So this is basic Java syntax and an example of a simple Java program. So every line of a code that runs in Java must be inside a class. So in our example, we name the class as main, a class should always start with an uppercase first letter. You cannot give a name of a class in a small letters. It should always contain first letter as capital one. And Java is like really case sensitive. There's a difference between a main function which has been given in a caps letter and another main which is given in a small letter, starting with a small letter. So we should be very careful by using the letters, but every class name should start with a capital letter. Whatever the name you give to class, it doesn't matter, but it should always have a capital letter. Starts with a capital letter. Okay. So the name of Java file must be same of the class name. So if you're giving your class name as main, then it should be saved as main.java. It should not be different from your class name. So if you're creating a file in Java, and what is the name of the file? It should be the same name of your class, and it should be spelled same name like main with the capital M. Then the file name should be main with a capital M, main.java. Okay, let's move on. And inside the main method, we can use the println method to print a line of text to the screen. So as I said before, the class main starts with the capital M, and this is a main method, and it can have a small m, that doesn't matter, but we are calling it, and the main method is executed and it will be printing the output as I said before. It will be hello world. So this will be the output. So let's move on, guys. So basically, for each and every time if you wanted to print something, you have to mention it within system.out.println. So what will be the output here? We have given system.out.println hello world, and in the next line we have given I am learning Java and it is awesome. So the next line it will be printed I am learning Java dat. The reason is whatever we enter inside double quotation, it will be printed as it is, and on the next line it will be printed it is awesome. So these all will be the output. So for each and every time if you want an word to be printed in each and every line, you should give this. Okay, let's move on. What happens if you wanted to create a command between your code? So Java do have some simple commands. What are commands? So these commands will be ignored by the compiler and it will not be executed. So commands can be used to explain Java code. If you wanted to write a simple note after a line you have coded, you can use this thing which is a double slash bar, which is a forward slashes, like two slashes be used, and it should be starting with this and ending with this. So basically, if I'm giving like this is addition, I'm closing with this. So basically what the compiler thinks, okay, anything between this forward double slashes will not be executed, so it is a command. So you can use this forward double slashes, and whatever it is given inside this forward double slashes, the system will not take it. It is a command. So that's what I have mentioned here, Java commands. So commands can be used to explain Java code and to make it more readable. It can also be used to prevent execution when testing alternative code. So these are the single line commands. So single line commands start with two forward slashes. Any text between these two forward slashes and the end of the line is ignored by Java will not be executed. And here's an example. What happens if you wanted to give like a multiple lines of commands? Then you should use this. So Java multi-line commands. Multi-line command starts with a forward slash and a star and ends with a star with a forward slash. So any text between these two will not be executed. So if you're giving this is an addition, this needs to be added. So all these are commands. So it is taking like two lines. So what I'm giving is a forward slash and a star basically, and I'm ending with a star and a forward slash. So I have utilized two lines to write a comment, but I have used a forward slash and a star. So and I have used a star and a forward slash to end the same. So whatever between this, it will not be executed, guys. So these are the Java multi-line commands. So I hope you have understood about Java commands, a single line and a multi-line commands. So let's move on. So we have come to an important topic right now, Java variables. Okay, so what are Java variable? What is Java variables? So let's learn about it. Okay, variables are containers for storing data values. So there are like various values that you're gonna give in your Java program. These Java programs are stored in the memory of the computer, right? So each and every set of words is a memory. It has to be stored in a memory. It has a weight in a programming language. It needs some storage space, right? So you have to you have to allocate the space for each and every letters, numbers that you are using in a Java program. So that is what is called a variables. You're allocating space for these words and numbers to store. So that's what they are saying here. Variables are containers for storing data values. In Java, there are different types of variables. For example, string. What is a string? String basically stores text. Okay, so hello is a string, your name is a string, my name is a string. Basically, the words which contains English words is a string. Strings values are surrounded by double quotes. So hello is a string which has a English letters, English word, and it has been surrounded by double quotes. So this is a string right here. Any English word is a string. You cannot use any other language. Only English is used to write Java programs with my knowledge. So you can see that a word which has been utilized here and it has been enclosed or it has been surrounded by double quotation, which is a string here. So what is an int here? Int stores integers, which means whole numbers. So what are whole numbers? Which is without decimals, which is like 1 2 3 or minus 1 2 3. So basically any number which is a whole number, if you want to store the value of the same, you can mention it as int, like 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 0. All these are integers. -1 -2 -3 minus 500, everything is a whole number, so it will be stored in int. Okay, what is a float? Float stores floating point numbers with decimals, which is 19.99. We are using a decimal here, right? Or minus 19.99 or minus 315.760, anything. Any numbers with a decimal, it is called as float. And what is a char actually? A char stores only single characters, like single letter. Might be a small letter, it might be a capital letter, but it should be a single letter and it should be surrounded by a single quotes. Should not be surrounded by a double quotes. So whereas string, it should be surrounded by a double quotes and it should be a word, only then it is called as a string. And for the char, it should be a single letter. It might be small letter or it might be uppercase letter. It should be surrounded by single quotes. So here a single letter A, which is a lowercase letter which is surrounded by a single quote, is a character. That's what they are saying here. Characters, which is a short form char values are surrounded by single quotes. So what is a boolean? Boolean only have two states, true or false, or in other words you can also say on or off. So either of the choice, like true or false or on or off. For this purpose we are using boolean to find whether a statement is true or false. So you can see variables are just a containers of these data values, so it should be stored in the memory of the computer, right? So the variables allocates memory for each and everything. For string, for like using words, if you use int, it is for storing whole numbers. If you're using float, it is for decimal numbers. If you're using character, it is for single letters. If you are using boolean, then it is for statements, either true or false. So variable is nothing but a container which is used to store data values. So let's move on. So how to declare a variables? So declaring a variables or creating a variables, what is the syntax actually? So let's see it here. So here's a syntax, like if you are giving the variable name, then it should yield a value. So what is the type of the variable, what is the name of the variable, and what is the value, and it should end with a semicolon. So as I said before, any statement and any argument, it should be end within a semicolon. If you're giving a value, then it should be ending with a semicolon. If you're calling for a output, then it should be ending with a semicolon. So this is the syntax of using a variable. So what type of variable it is, like a string or int or float or char or boolean. So we have to mention it here, type. You have to give a name. You can give any name, like sum, add, sub, like that, x, y, z. It can be anything, and it should contain a value, right? And it should end with a semicolon. So let's see an example. Okay, let's see an example for a string. So I'm giving a string name which is John here, and I'm calling the name to be printed. So let's see what I have done. So I'm giving a type of variable string and variable name. I'm giving a name for a variable which might be a, and which should yield me a value is John, and it should be ended with a semicolon. Here the type of the variable is a string, and I'm giving a name to the variable which is a, and since it's a string, I'm giving a word within double quotes, and it should be ending with semicolon. So let's use this. So string name is equal to John, and I'm calling the system.out.println to call the name or a, as you can see in our example. So what happens here is we are asking the system to print a value in a. What is the value in a? John. So the output will be John. So this is a simple example for the string. Let's move on. And let's see what we can give for the integer right here. I'm giving you an example for the integer right there. So this is the type, which is a int. So the variable type is int. The name for the variable is mynum, and the value we have given is 15, which is a whole number. It has ended with a semicolon, and we are asking the system to print on the next line the value of mynum. So the output will be 15. So this is the example for the integer right here. Let's move on to the next example. Similarly, it applies for the everything, every other variable. So an integer type, integer name, value, type of the variable float, name of the variable, and a value which is obviously containing decimals. Type of the variable is char, type of my letter is equal to d, and boolean type, and the name of the boolean, and the value is true, and a string name, and this is a string name, and this is type of the variable, and value is hello. So you'll be getting the outputs accordingly. If you're asking calling my num, it will give you 5. If you're calling my float num, it will give you 5.995. If you're calling my letter, it will give you D. If you're calling my bool, it will give you true. It will, if you call my text, it will give you hello. So these are some of the examples. So let's move on, guys. So let's see like how can we combine like two different strings to yield a single output. So let's learn that. So let me give you an example right here. So I'm giving you an example right here. So this is an example. Okay, so there's a string name, and which is a John, and in the system.out.println I'm mentioning hello within a double quotation so that the output will enter whatever given inside the double quotation hello, and I'm giving a operator here, and I'm calling the name, which will give me the output of hello John right there. So you can see the output is hello John, whereas hello is a standard word which we have entered here, and we have called the name right there. So if there are like series of people right there like John, Anderson, Mike, and so on, it will be giving the output hello Mike, or instead of John, hello Anderson, and so on. So this is how you use the strings to combine two different words and give a same line output. So let me give you another example. So like type of the variable is string, variable name is given as first name, and the value here is John, and you might see I have given a space bar, so you can expect a space bar in the output as well. And type of the variable is string, variable name is last name, and the value is doe. So type of the variable is string, name of the variable is full name, the value is first name plus last name, and we are calling out the system to print the full name. So what happens here, we are combining three strings. So while we are calling the full name, it will go here and it will check for the values right here, first name plus last name. So when you're calling an output over here, it goes to this full name and it will search the first name and last name. If it goes to the first name, it will go here and it will see the value as John, which has given inside a double quotation with a space bar. So and then it will go to the last name here and it will go here and it will print the doe. What would be the output here? The output would be John Doe. John and a space bar Doe. So since I have given a space here, it will give a space here. If I didn't give a space here, there will be no space over here. So this is a combination of three different strings into one. So in the output I'm calling full name, whereas it goes here, and to search for the value of full name, whereas it is first name and last name, it will again goes to the first name over here, it will call John, it will go here and it will call Doe, and the output will be John Doe. So this is another example of using this syntax or using variables. The same for another one in integer. Let us see that. So here there's an integer type of the variable is int, and name of the variable is x, value for the variable is 5, and it has been closed with a semicolon. Similarly we have given here, and what we are doing here is we are calling out x to add y. So you can see that there is no double quotation or anything here, so it will consider this plus as an additional operator, and it will take this value of x and value of y and it will add it. The value of 5 is x is 5 and the value of y is 6. What will be the output here? The output will be 5 plus 6, which is 11. So that's what happens. We are entering x plus y in integer time, and it will give you a value of 11. And you can see the command over here. We are asking the system to print the value of x plus y, which is 11 here. So this is another example of using the variable for addition. You can use for another thing as well, like multiplication, subtraction, and so on. So let's move on. So let's see in another multiple declaration of this variable here with another integer example. So there's an integer which is a variable type, variable name, and the value. So int x equal to 5. So the value of x is 5 and y is 6 and z is 50. So we are asking the system to print the value of x plus y plus z, and it closes with a semicolon. What will be the output here? The output will be 5 plus 6 11, and 11 plus 50 is 61. So this would be the output here. So this is how you use the multiple declaration statements and multiple declaring of a variable. So let's move on. So let's see the topic of Java identifiers. So what is a Java identifier, guys? So let me give you a description of the same. So all Java variables must be identified with unique names. So each and every variables will be having a unique name, which is it cannot be repeated. These unique names are called identifiers. Identifiers can be short names like X or Y, or more descriptive names like age, sum, total volume. So these are called identifiers, and all Java variables must be identified with unique names. So the name of the variables should be unique names. It should not be repeated. It might be anything like x, y, age, sum, total volume. It should be a word, a English word or English letter. It should be unique. We should not repeatedly use the name. That's what they are calling, and it is called as identifiers. You're identifying the particular name of the variable. So this is called as identifiers. So let's move. There's a general rules here. Name a variable, guys. So what are the rules? So let's see that. So the basic general rules for naming variables are: names can contain letters, digits, underscores, and dollar signs. So it can contain letters, so A, B, C, D. It can contain digits 1, 2, 3, 4. It can contain underscores. You know what is underscore is? It can contain dollar sign. You know what sign. It can be anything. So the name should begin with a letter, not with a zero or dollar sign or anything or underscore. It should begin with a letter. It should start with A, B, C or any alphabets in English, and it can followed by underscore or dollar sign or digits, but it should start with a letter. Name should start with a lowercase letter and it cannot contain white space. The name should contain always lowercase letter. The variable name should always start with a lowercase letter and it cannot contain any white space. You should not give any space. It should be a single word. Name can also begin with dollar and underscore, but will not use it in this tutorial. So in some rare case, it might also use dollars and underscore, but most probably name might be starting with a small letter, which is my variable or my variable. So you can see that V is a capital over here and V is small over here. So you might see that names are case sensitive. You will consider these two as two different variables. What are some reserved words? These name has been given by Java and it is called as Java keywords. So int is a reserved variable name. Int boolean is a reserved name. It cannot be used as name because these are types. You cannot give a integer type and you cannot name as integer. You cannot name int as a type. You cannot name a int type as a int. You cannot name boolean type as a boolean because these are the reserved words. Not use that. But probably I don't think many people might use dollar sign or underscore sign. It is better to avoid. So remember, it should be starting with a lowercase and it might have numerals, it might have uppercase, it might have dollar sign, but it should not probably start with this dollar or underscore. Most probably if you are naming it, name it in a very simple manner. If you are using it to define a variable, if it as my variable, it will be like very easy. That's what they are trying to say here, the general rules for naming the variable. Let's move on. So let's see what are the Java data types. So what are the data types in Java? So let's see. So basically the Java data types has been divided into two groups. They are called as primitive data types and non-primitive data types. So basically you might know that Java has data types and it has been divided into two groups, which is primitive data types and non-primitive data types. So what does primitive data types actually does? What are the things that is inside the primitive data types? Byte, short, int, long, float, double, boolean, and char. All these are primitive data types. And on the other hand, what are the non-primitive data types such as string, arrays, classes? All these are non-primitive data types and we can learn it in the further session. Let's see an example of this. So these are the primitive data types, guys. So a primitive data type specifies the size and type of variable values, and it has no additional methods. So it is used to allocate the size of the particular value of the variables. So like there are like 8 primitive data types in Java. So let us see that in detail. Like a byte. So many of you know or have used this word byte. What is actually a storage space of this byte? Byte stores only whole numbers, which is from minus 128 to 127. So one byte can contain a number which might be between minus 128 to 127. So 56, this number can be stored in a byte. 127, it can be stored in a byte. 128, it cannot be stored in a byte. Minus 127, it cannot be stored in a byte. So a byte can store numbers between minus 128 to 127. So these are a storage value of byte. So what is a short? Short actually stores like 2 bytes, and it also stores whole numbers from minus 32,768 to 32,767. So a minus 127 can be stored in a short, and yeah, addition or just 128 or 128 can be stored in a short, because a short can store from minus 32,768 to 32,767. So this is a short. So what is a int? An int can store 4 bytes, and it can store whole numbers from ones, tens, hundreds, thousand, 10,000, 100,000, million, 10 million, 100 million, and billion. So an int can store minus 2 billion and 147 million and 483,648 to 2 billion and 147 million and 483,647. In Indian numerals, it is 200 crores and 214 crores and 74 lakhs and 83,000 and 648 to 214 crores, 74 lakhs and 83,000 and 647 in Indian numerals or like a British numerals. So basically an int can contain 4 bytes. It can contain whole numbers from 2 billion, minus 2 billion to plus 2 billion in easy understanding. So what is a long stores? A long stores 8 bytes, and it also stores like whole numbers from ones, tens, hundreds, thousand, 10,000, 100,000, million, 10 million, 100 million, billion, 10 billion, 100 billion, trillion, 10 trillion, 100 trillion, a zillion, 10 zillion, 100 zillion, and I don't know what is after zillion. I have to check it. It is quadrillion. Okay. So a long can contain 8 bytes, and which can contain numbers 9 quadrillion, 2 223 zillion, 2 372 trillion and 36 billion and 854 million and 775,882. Again 9 quadrillion, 2 23 billion and 372 trillion and 36 billion and 854 million and 775,807. So this is the numbers that can be stored inside a long. And a float can also contain only 4 bytes with the fractional numbers, which is like 6 to 7 decimal digits. It's like really easy to understand. This is what a float can contain with the fractional numbers. And a doubles can contain 8 bytes, which can store fraction numbers sufficient for storing 15 decimal digits. And a boolean can contain only one bit, not even a byte, just one bit, which is either true or false values. So it can store only one bit. Character can contain 2 bytes, which can contain a single character or letter or an ASCII values. Might be small a or big A or any other ASCII values. So now you know that what are the primitive data types and what are the values of that. So we have come across byte, dot, int, long, float, double, boolean and char. So all these are like primitive data type and the size description. So let's see about non-primitive data types. Let's move on. So non-primitive data types actually contain string, arrays and classes. You can see string contains a word, and arrays are a set of words and classes are a set of classes. So this is a really a big topic and we can learn it further inside this session. Guys, let's move on. What are the Java numbers? So let's learn about Java numbers here. So let's start it. So numbers, Java numbers. So we can see that primitive number types are divided into two groups, which is integer types and floating point types. Okay, so let's see what are the primitive number types, and it has been divided into two groups, which is integer types. Integer type stores whole numbers, positive or negative, such as 1 2 3 or minus 4 5 6, without a decimal. What are the valid types? The valid types are byte, short, int, long. Which type you should use depends upon the numeric value. And there's another one which is a floating point types, which represent numbers with a fractional part containing one or like more decimal. There are like two types, which is float and double. for using floating point types. So this comes under the primitive number types, which has integer types and a floating point types. These are the two types under the primitive number types. So let's move on. So let's see an example for the integer types, starting with a byte. So the byte data type can store whole numbers from -1 to 8 to 1 to 7. This can be used instead of int. For example, byte my num is equal to 100, the value is 100. We can call the system to print my num. So this is the example for a byte integer type. And that's also an example for short. Let me tell you. For short type, a short data type can store whole numbers from -32768 to 32767, and short can contain 5000. You can call the same by using the method. So let's move on. So what is a long? What the long contains? So the long data type can store whole numbers from -9 quadrillion to +9 quadrillion, and the example is this, and we are giving a long name and value, and we are calling it, it will yield a value. So these are Java numbers. So let's move on. So what are the another floating point types? Let's see the example right here. So in floating point types, you should use a floating point type whenever you need a number with a decimal. So like 9.99 or 3.14515. If you need a number with a decimal, then you can use floating point type. The float and the double data types can store fractional numbers, and you should also note that the value should end with an F for floats and D for doubles. For example, float minum equal to 5.75F, which is it's a float, and here a value is ending with a D, which is for double. Don't forget it. So let's move on. So here is a simple example for the same. We are giving a float with this value and double with this value. We can call the name here, which will yield the value of this and this. Full example for using float and double in your program. Let's move on. So Boolean types. Let's see about this. A Boolean data type is declared with the Boolean keyword, and it can take like only either one of the values, like true or false. So in Boolean is Java is fun. This is a statement here, and it should give a value true. So we are assigning true here. And another boolean, I mean the variable type is boolean and the name is fish tasty. The value is false, and we are calling the system to print is Java fun. We are asking it, and it will yield the value of output true, and is fish tasty, it will give a value of false. So this is basically a statement over here, which is a name. This is a boolean type, this is a boolean name. The boolean name is Java fun. The boolean name is fish tasty. The value we have assigned here is true, we have assigned here is false. So while reading this output, is Java fun, the output will be true because we have assigned true. Is fish tasty, the output will be false because we have assigned false. That's the example right here. Let's move on. So what are the characters of Java? So let's see that. So the char data type is used to store a single character. We all know that. So the character must be surrounded with a single quotes. We also know that as well. For example, a char data type with a char name with a char value, and we are calling the char name, and it will give the value assigned here. So alternatively, if you are familiar with ASCII values, you can use those to display certain characters. So char my variable 1 equal to an ASCII value of 65, we should give a number. The ASCII value of 66 will yield you a number. The ASCII value of 67 will give you a number. So you can say that these are like two different numbers because this is not an integer. This is a char of ASCII value. ASCII value is considered a single number. So the ASCII value of 65 is A, and the ASCII value of 66 is B, and the 67 is C. So since it's an ASCII value, you can use two letters or two numbers because it's ASCII value, right? So let's move. So what will be the output here? The output will be like when it is calling my variable 1, since it's a char, it will yield the ASCII value of 65, which is a capital A. 66 is capital B and 67 is capital. So let me get an output here. Just A, B, and C, the output. So 65 is not an integer, guys. It is a char value, which will be considered as ASCII value. Let's move on. So what are the Java non-primitive data types? So let's see that. So a non-primitive data types are called reference types because they refer to objects. So the non-primitive data types are like reference types because they refer to objects. The main difference between primitive and the non-primitive data types are primitive data types are predefined. It has already defined by Java. You cannot name them. Non-primitive data types are created by the programmer and it is not defined by the Java except for the string. So string is defined by the Java. All other non-primitive data types are assigned by the user programmer. Non-primitive types can be used to call methods to perform certain operations while primitive types cannot. A primitive type has always a value while non-primitive types can be null, which is no value. A primitive type starts with a lowercase letter while non-primitive type starts with an uppercase letter. This is the thing that you should remember, guys. A primitive data type starts with a lowercase letters, a small a, a small p, or something like that. But non-primitive data types always starts with the uppercase letter, a small or. It's not a small, it's a capital A or capital B, like that. It's a non-primitive data type. A primitive type starts with a lowercase letter while a non-primitive type starts with an uppercase letter. The size of a primitive type depends on the data type, while non-primitive types all have the same size. So let's start learning this further. So what is a Java typecasting? Let's learn about Java typecasting here. So what is a Java typecasting, guys? So typecasting is when you assign a value of one primitive data type to another data type. We are assigning a value of a one primitive data type to another, which is a typecasting. We are giving a value of one particular data type to another one. That's called typecasting. So let's see it in detail. So what is widening casting? So converting a smaller type to a larger type is a widening casting, which is we are converting a byte to a short to a char to a int to a long to a float, and float to a double. Actually, we are moving a smaller data type to a bigger one, which is called as widening casting. What is a narrowing casting? Which has been done manually, which is converting a larger data type to a smaller size type, converting a double to a float, a long to a int to a char to a short. This is done manually, whereas the widening casting, converting a small to big, is done automatically. So this is called as Java typecasting. So let's move on. So let us see an example for this widening casting right now. So a widening casting is done automatically when passing a smaller size to a larger size type. So we all know that. So let's see an example over here. So here's a main class which has been called, a main method has been called, an integer value has been given here, an integer type, integer name has been given, a double type, double name, double value has been given. So what happens here is the value of a double is given as my int, which will again go to the name of the integer value, which is 9. So automatically a int is converted into a double. So here my int goes to an integer name which has an integer value 9. So this 9 value, now it will be stored here. Now it is a double value. So that's what they are saying, automatic casting. So we are calling system.out.println my int and system.out.println my double. So when you're calling my int, it will go here, which is 9. So the output will be in the first line is 9, and it goes to the second line, and it will call my double, which will go here, and it will call the value which is my int, and it will go here, it will call the value 9. Since the 9 is stored in here, since it's a double value, then the output will be 9.0. Since double will have a decimal. So this is how the widening casting works, guys. So let's move on. So let's see how a narrow casting works. So a narrow casting must be done manually by placing the type in parentheses in front of the value. Let's see an example. The main class has been written here. Main void, main method has been called here. A double type, double name, a double value, an integer type, integer name, and int my double has been called here. This is a manual casting. Since we are converting a bigger number to smaller number, we have to mention the integer part here. So we are converting double to int. What happens here is when we are calling my double, it will go to the my double and it will enter the 9.78. Do not enter the D because it is the term to enter D if you are using a double. So the output will be 9.78 alone. But when you're calling my int, the my int will go here and it will call my double. Since we are converting bigger size to smaller size, you have to mention the type of size it is. The integer type, and we are mentioning the integer type here. It is mandatory. So the output will be 9. Because it contains only whole numbers, so the decimal part will not be stored. So this is how the narrowing casting works. Okay, let's move on. So let's learn about the Java operators. What are the Java operators, guys? What are the various types of Java operators? So let's see here. So Java has been divided into these operators, which are arithmetic operators, assignment operators, comparison operators, logical operators, and bitwise operators. So let's see what are these one by one right now. So the first is arithmetic operators. The arithmetic operators are used to perform common mathematical operations. So these are the operators name. I think it's much better right now. So in Java operators, we are going to learn about arithmetic operators. Arithmetic operators are used to perform common mathematical operations. So you can see the operator name and the operators. So this is a plus symbol, right? So which represent additional operators right here. And what does the additional operator does? It adds two values like x plus y. And the minus symbol here is represented as subtraction operator, which actually subtracts one value from the another, x minus y. And the star symbol here is multiplication operators. So multiplication operators multiplies two values like 5 into 2, like x into y, like that. So a forward slash represents division operators, which divides one value by another. And a percentage symbol represent modulus operators, which increases or it returns the division remainder like x modulus of y. And a double plus represents increment operator, which increases the value of a variable by 1. And the double minus represents decreasing operator, which will decrease the value. Okay, let's do another one. Plus is an addition operator and minus is a subtraction operator. Star is a multiplication operator. Forward slash is a division operator. Percentage is a modulus. Double plus is an increment and double minus is a decrement. So let us call it by their own name. Additional operator, subtraction operator, multiplication operator, division operator, modulus operator, increment operator, and decrement operator. So how many operators were there? Like 3, 6, 7. There are like 7 arithmetic operators. So what are the 7 arithmetic operators? Which is additional, subtraction, multiplication, division, modulus, increment, and decrement. So these are the 7 arithmetical operators. So let's move on. What are the other thing we have to learn? Assignment operators. So let's learn it. So these are the like assignment operators right here. So they haven't given the name. They have given the example, but I'm gonna tell you the name. Well, before that, let me align this thing. Okay, so the equal to sign is generally an operator which is used to give a value, and this is additional equal to is equal to plus equal to is actually gives you the value of adding and multiplying as something. So let us see that. So the equal to operator, where you can see x equal to 5, which is same as assigning a value of 5 to x, and on the next line you can see plus equal to, which is x plus equal to 3, which is like x equal to x plus 3. So giving a value of x equal to x plus 3, so that is plus equal to. And minus equal to is something like x minus equal to 3, which is a value of x is equal to x minus 3, and a multiplication equal to is giving a value to x, which is actually a multiplication of x into a 3 or something like that. And a modulus equal to is x modulus equal to 3, like x is equal to x modulus 3, which is x is equal to 6 by 3, which is 2, right? And division equal to is dividing, where you'll be getting 2 as well. And for example, like 6 minus 6 by 3 is equal to like 2, whereas in modulus like 6 by 3 is equal to 0. Yeah. And this is the and equal to, which is adding of two values into a single value, which is x is equal to x and 3. And not equal to is the value x equal to x not equal to 3 or something like that. And greater than equal to is the value of x is x greater than 3 or something like that. Or increment equal to is the value of x is x increment by 3, and decrement equal to is the value of x is x decrement by 3. So this is what they are trying to say. So this adds, this yields a value, this add a value, subtracts a value, multiply a value, divide a value, modulus a value, and a value, or a value, power of a value, greater than equal to or lesser than equal to, adding 1 to a value or minusing 1 to a value. So these are the assignment operators. The name of assignment operators are equal to, additional equal to, subtraction equal to, multiplication equal to, division equal to, modulus equal to, and equal to, or equal to, power of equal to, greater than equal to, lesser than equal to. So let's move. What are the comparison operators there? Java. The comparison operators are used to compare like two values. So these are the operators, and these are the names, and for the example. So let me arrange it for you. be like easy for you to understand comparison operators here. So these are the operators. So let us begin, right? So what are the Java comparison operators? Comparison operators compare two values. This is an equal to operator which is used to compare like x is y. This is a not equal to comparison operator which gives or which is used to compare that x is not equal to y. This is a greater than operator which is used to say x is greater than y. The less than operator which is used to say x is less than y. And this is a greater than or equal to operator which is used to say x is greater than or equal to y. The less than or equal to operator which is used to say x is lesser than or equal to y. So we are comparing, right? Comparing whether x is equal to or not equal to or greater than or lesser than or greater than equal to or lesser than equal to y. So we are comparing actually comparison operators like 7 comparison operators. So let's move on. So these are the Java logical operators. What are the logical operators? To determine the logic between variables or values, we have to use logical operators that we have to remember. So this is the operator, and so this is a and logical and returns. Logical and returns true if both statements true. Logical or returns true if one of the statement is logical not and it reverses the result. Is false, then it is okay. So the name of this operator is logical and the name of this operator is logical or the name of this operator is logical not. So let's think now it is good for you guys. So these are the logical operators. So the name of the operator is logical and it makes sure that value of x is lesser than 5 and x is greater than 10. We are comparing and we are asking two logics. We are combining them. Parallels, you can see that in the example x is lesser than 5 and logical and x is lesser than 5 at the same time x is lesser than 10 as well. So it might be between 1 to 4 or 4 or but the x is lesser than 5 and less is x is than 10 as well. In other terms, you can also say that x is greater than 5 and x is lesser than 10. it might be between 6 to 9. So this is the logical AND. If you're using logical AND in bit, should also have this statement as well as the same. So which is x is greater than 5, and logical AND x is lesser than 10, which is the logical and logical OR is it might be either one. Either one is true. X is lesser than 5 or x is lesser than 4. Either one is acceptable. If the statement or if the value is either of the one is acceptable, that is what they're trying. Returns true if one of the statement is true. If any one is true, it will return true. If the value of x is like 2 and the value of x is like 3 or 5, 2 is lesser than 5. 5 is lesser than 4, which is true. True is lesser than 5 is true. 5 is not lesser than 5. 5 is not lesser than 4. It is greater than 5. So only this statement is true. So it returns true. Either one of the statement is true. It returns true only if both the statements are true. That is logical AND. So x is greater than 5. If x is 6, it is greater than 5 and lesser than 6, lesser than 10, which is true. So only both the terms are true, it will yield the value as true. If either one is true, it will yield the value of true. What is logical NOT? It will reverse the result. It returns false if the result is true, and it will return true if the result is false. So let's say x is 5 and 5 again. So 5 is lesser than 5, it's not true, it is false, because 5 is equal to 5, but it will give us true. And 5 is lesser than 10, which is true, it will give us false. So that's why it is called as logical NOT. It will reverse the result. So these are the logical operators, as the name suggests. Logical AND will return the value of true if only both the statements are true or both the values are true. Logical OR either one is true is fine, it will give true. Logical NOT, it will reverse the value. If the value is false, it will give true. The value is true, it will give false. So these are the logical operators. Let's move on. So I'm gonna have a break right now. So I'm gonna end this stream right now, and the same will be continued in few minutes with a stream with the same name with a part 2. So make sure to follow the channel and subscribe to the playlist which has the name Core Java Complete Course in English Notepad Teaching. So this is a part 1, and part 2 will be continued like after few moments. So I'm going to end this stream right now, so make sure to subscribe and turn on the bell icon of Absolute Beginners Coding. So the Core Java Complete Course in English will be continued with a part 2. Make sure to check out the Core Java Complete Course in English Notepad Teaching playlist. So I'm going to end this stream right now. I need a break right now. So thank you guys, thanks for staying.